My name is Reagan Sawyer. My husband is John Walls. He is a father of 2 daughters, an educator with a master's degree in photography, a professional fine arts photographer, and an all-American triathlete. While I grew up in the Anthony Wayne area, I moved away to pursue my college degree, but moved back with my husband with the plans of starting a family 15 years ago. On the afternoon of September 16th, 2016, John walked out of our home on South River Road to make suburban landscape photos like the ones that have hung in galleries around the United States and have been published in art journals around the world. On that day, walking down the street, he was confronted by 2 men. He was asked if he was a pedophile. Then he was arrested and charged with 2 crimes that carry a combined jail time of 60 days. Transported to the Lucas County Jail, where he was made to stand, hands shackled behind his back, nude, for over 6 hours. This was our experience with the Waterville Police Department.
I noticed that the light was really nice, so I got my Noblex camera and some color film, which I cannot honestly, it's been years since I've shot color film. I was surprised to find that I even had any, but I loaded up a roll of color film and I thought I'd walk around the neighborhood for a few minutes and shoot color pictures. Not so much of anything particular, just the light. Just this glowing orange light that I guess you get sometimes in the late afternoon in the fall. And as I was walking down Mount Vernon, the place on the corner, there was a birthday party, and a man came out and asked me if I was shooting pictures of him or of the kids. He said, you know, you're a fucking pervert making pictures of the kids, I'm gonna call the cops. And I said, do that, leave me alone.
Okay, we were called down on a suspicious male who was walking down the street with a camera taking pictures of kids in the front yard of a 5-year-old's birthday party. And I heard the call, and I was actually in the office with Officer Nikolai, and I told her, I said, I'm going with you. Obviously, it's a 2-person call, obviously. Anyway, we left the office. She went one way, I went the other way, and we kind of came around the block this way, and as I turned onto Mount Vernon, she was coming in from South 3rd Street onto Lexington, Mount Vernon there. As I rounded the corner on Mount Vernon, I observed Mr. Walls walking down the street, walking towards me in front of the complainant's house. Or coming from, actually, he was further down the road a little bit, walking this way. And walking towards me, and I got on the radio and I told the dispatcher, I says, I'll be out with the subject, he's a known subject. And then we went from there, and then Officer Nikolai was right there with me.
Okay, let me stop you there. No, what do you mean a known subject?
Known subject is that I recognized him because I've seen him before, I've had dealings with him before in town.
Okay.
I've lived in Waterville for right around 27 years. But the fact of when I come out and I'm questioning, I'm getting aggressive, honestly, I'm being aggressive in my words, and it's the answers I'm getting back. It's the, whether you call it defensive or the very vague answers, the very quick answers, the very snappy answers, that was just fueling me more. If anything would have happened physical at that moment in time, I will 100% take all responsibility for it. It would have been on my behalf.
And so you would say that if someone was characterized as being aggressive that day, it would be you and not John?
Correct. If it was any difference, yes, I was the one being aggressive and coming towards him. He was being defensive. It was a different situation that I had never ran into before. So I was hoping the police could help me get that answer. But they showed up and almost cornered him, if you will. One cop came from 3rd Street and one cop came from River Road to corner him on Mount Vernon, so he had nowhere to go. my first initial opinion is that's wrong right there. By cornering somebody, you corner a criminal that's been running. You corner an animal that's been running. You don't corner somebody that you don't know the story. You don't back somebody into a corner and force them to be aggressive or defensive to get out of the situation.
Do you know what the officers yelled at him as they cornered him?
I do not remember right now.
Okay.
Complete honesty, I don't remember the words that were said. But I remember there were vulgar words coming out of the police officer's mouth. I do remember that they were ordering him around like a child. They were not being professional at all. And again, the cornering factor. And it just seemed like the police went way too far. All I was looking for was an answer, and they never came to me first, like they normally do in situations. They went instantly to him. They never gave any chance of a story. They never gave any chance of what was going on. They never, I guess it's just as simple as that. They never gave John a chance. Now granted, and I will say this, I understand some of my actions could have changed the outcome, but again, the police actions could have as well. I firmly believe that the act of any question, they treat it as aggression, they treat it as disrespectful, they treat it as you're questioning their authority. Makes them feel they are the law.
I've broken the law? Huh? Now I don't, but you're walking away like you have. Fair enough. Okay. If I've broken the law, arrest me. Okay, taking pictures of little kids. That's the call we're getting. That you're taking pictures of little kids. Is that what you're doing? Is that illegal? It's according to what your intent is. Is it illegal? No, it's not. If I've broken the law, arrest me. If not, leave me alone. No, an idiot.
All right. Okay. And then what happened then after you called dispatch and said you were going to be out with the suspect? What happened?
Well, he was walking towards my patrol car, so I rolled down my passenger window. And as he was walking up towards my passenger window, I said, "Excuse me," I said, "Can I talk to you for a second?" And he just kept walking. And so obviously he walks past my patrol car window. I get out of the car and I attempt to talk to him. I said, "Hey," I said, "come here." And I don't remember verbatim exactly what I said, but I was trying to get him to talk to me. And he was walking back across the street with his camera. And he got across, I believe he got all the way across South River Road into his yard. And I said, "That's fine." I said, "You stay over there. And if you come back, you're going to be arrested for disorderly conduct." I can't remember when, but at one point, we told him that we'd come talk to him at his house.
Okay.
Okay.
Were you going to go talk to the people that made the
Yes.
call? Okay,
Yes.
right.
Because he was already back to his house. He wouldn't talk to me. He just went back over to his house. And I thought, well, okay, if you're going back to your house, that's good. You stay there.
All right.
And I did tell him, I said, "If you come back over here, you'll be arrested for disorderly conduct."
What law have I...
Go back to your house.
I'm going home. I'm going home. You assume this is my home? Yes, I know it's your home. That's why I'm not taking you to jail right now. Because you know who I am? Because I know who you are. Who am I? Yeah. Go to your house, sir. All right. Officer Linger? Yes, it is. Go to your house. Great. And what's your name?
Nikolai.
Okay, I tell you what. No, you know what? Come on. I didn't have to tell you a half a dozen times to go home. Okay? And then I told you if you don't go home, you're going to be arrested. Not following the order of a law enforcement officer. When I told you to leave, you're supposed to leave. Okay, well, that's fine. That's why you're in the back seat. I'm just sensing having a confrontation with you because I already know that you live there, okay? We know you're not a child predator. I don't care what you're doing with your camera. It's none of my business, okay? It is a free country to walk down the street. That's the end of the story, okay? So next time, if the police roll up, don't automatically assume that we're out to get you because we don't even know you. I only know how you are. I only know how you act, okay, and how you are. I know how you've acted in the past, okay? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Huh? You're a hostile person. So what I did was look. The law says when a police officer tells you to do something, you do it. If you don't do it, you're going to get arrested.
They tried to get him to go home to keep somebody from getting their butt kicked. Your husband wouldn't leave. They had no choice. It had nothing to do with his taking pictures. It wouldn't have mattered if he was standing out in the street picking his nose. No, if you're out in public, anything you can see with your naked eye, you can photograph.
Absolutely.
Right.
But as a courteous neighbor, which is not talking just about the law, because to be in a neighborhood and be a good person, you have to be a good person. This is a personal Lori opinion. Just take it for Westworth. I'm old. Be a good neighbor.
The officers were there to keep the peace, and it came down. The only way they could do that was to take somebody away. That's the point. It had nothing to do with the pictures.
So it's interesting because he's walking back to the house, and the officers
But he
stopped
kept
him
coming
in
back.
front of the house. No, he was they actually called
Yeah,
him
right.
back.
They tried to talk to him to see what was going on.
He was walking towards the house to
That's
go
the
in,
other part of it.
ignoring,
When
and they didn't like it when they ignored him.
No, it's not a matter of they didn't like it. They were investigating a complaint, and by law, you are required to identify yourself. That was one of the charges your husband had.
It was, yes.
By law and by city ordinance, if an officer is investigating a complaint, you have to provide name and address. You're required to. Okay.
And he didn't do
And
that.
he refused. That was one of the charges.
Right, and that charge was not levied until they came and asked him about it within the back of the police car.
It doesn't matter when the charge.
Multiple times they said, "We know who you are. We know where you live. We know who
still
you
have
are.
to
We know
provide-
who you live." I don't know how much more clear we can get, and that's the reason that the prosecutor didn't prosecute it.
No, he worked out an arrangement, took a plea on one charge and dismissed the other. Common practice.
Please. So let's go.
I believe you testified, you know how the case, the arrest resolved, correct? The arrest that...
Mr. Hannibal, can I ask you to do me a favor? Can you, like, turn a little bit and speak to me?
You understand how the prior arrest of Mr. Walls was resolved, correct?
A call of the prosecutor.
Correct.
Yes.
And you know what that means?
Yes.
Do you know why they would have arrived at such a resolution?
No.
If I told you there was a lack of evidence to show disorderly conduct, would that have been a surprise to you?
I'm an objective. Mr. Hannibal wants to testify, and they want to bring that in. We can bring it in. It's not relevant to how it ended up.
I can tell.
I am actually curious to know how it ended up at the call of the prosecutor. So does anyone have any actual knowledge that they could testify to?
Well, I represented Mr. Walls in that matter. And Mr. Walls could also testify as to how the matter resolved if the court's so interested, but...
Can we go off the record for a second? Sure.
I did. So February 14th of last year, my daughters and I were returning from my oldest daughter's piano lesson, and we were on, I forget the name of the road, I think it's Hilltop and Hillside, but it's a residential area, and we were driving through there, and I was talking about the piano lesson, and Mr. Linger came out of one of the yards. I didn't quite see where he came from, but he was wearing a black hood up over and came chasing after our car. I didn't quite hear what he said. He shouted something and was waving like this to come back, and I remember my one daughter said, "Is that guy yelling at us?" And I said, "No, don't worry about it. You know, everything's going to be okay." And we just went home, and then sent an email to you outlining what had happened. And then I guess that was on a Tuesday. Then Thursday of that same week, he followed my wife home, and I saw his truck at the end of the driveway. She got a good look and could see that it was his face.
I mean, I see them in their cars in and around Waterville. It's only, I don't know, 3 or 4 square miles. So I've definitely seen him out and about in his capacity as a police officer. And then there was an opportunity. My daughter had been at the emergency room. We were driving to Kroger to pick up a prescription to fulfill the request from the doctor. Coming out of Kroger, I turned left. Across the street at the gas station was a police vehicle. It did pull out behind me at that point in time. It followed me until I was past the industrial area and turned left onto River Road. We live on River Road. It's 35 miles per hour there. I drive the speed limit. It's my road. So often cars will come up behind wanting to drive a lot faster. That happened at that night. A truck of some sort came up really fast behind me with its headlights really close, where you can kind of barely see them in the reflection of your rear view mirror. I just continued to drive my normal speed limit. I turned on my turn signal to pull into our house. The truck behind me pulled into the park next to our house. I just didn't think much of it. I was getting out of my vehicle, popped the trunk from the groceries that I had gotten from Kroger, and that same truck came and was at the base of our driveway. I assumed, small town mentality, that it was somebody looking for directions because of the way that they had stopped. I started to move towards the truck, and the inside lights of the truck came on, and whether they were turned on or they were opening the door, I just know I had this immediate recognition that it was Arthur Linger, and I don't know what I thought, but I needed to get back to my child. At that moment, as I turned to go back to the car, John, who sits, his office is over a window right over top of our driveway, and knew that we'd be coming home after getting the prescription. So he was sitting up at his computer, saw out the window, and I don't know cars, and he does, and he recognized the truck immediately and was coming down from his office, down the stairs, across our family room, out the door with a camera, trying to make a picture of what was happening outside. And I just knew I needed to get my child and get in the house.
Do you remember the date of this incident?
It would have been in February. I can certainly look back on the hospital records.
February 2017.
Yes.
You want this marked as an exhibit, or?
Yes, so this would be Respondent's Exhibit D. This appears to be an email from Chief LaGrange dated February 21st of 2017. Do you stipulate that you believe this to be an accurate copy of the email?
I would have no reason to dispute it, Judge.
Okay, the email is sent to Art Linger, Becky Hickman, Bobby Joe Newman, Gabe Rogers, Joe Valvano, Kyle Whitehead, Larry Albright, Mike Shaneyfelt, Rob Knupp, Steve Hallett, and Tina Nicolai. Are these all of the officers of the Waterville Police Department as of February 21st, 2017?
Yes, ma'am.
The subject of the email is John Wall. It states, all John Wall's case will be completed in court this afternoon. He's also going to sign a release on his camera that he claims was damaged. It appears that Mr. Wall and his wife are a little paranoid right now, believing they're being stalked by our department. We all know that's not the case, but just the same, if you happen to see either of them out and about, please endeavor to give them some room or go some other direction so they don't feel they're being followed or harassed. For the same reasons, let's run radar at some other occasion than Waterworks Park. What's Waterworks Park?
The park next to his house,
Okay.
next to Mr. Wall's house.
Didn't you have at least a warning issued from your chief, and not only to you, but all members of the Waterville Police Department, to stay away from the Walls property?
The chief of police sent a memorandum, an email out to everybody. It was not a warning, it was a request.
Do you know why that request was made?
Apparently, Mr. Walls was complaining that officers were sitting down by his house, and they were all paranoid because there was police cars down by their house. So the chief asked people to stop sitting down there, asked the officers to stop sitting down there.
And
or if we seen him or had contact with him, to go a different direction.
All right.
Mm-hmm. And I believe all the officers respected the chief's wishes too.
All right.
After that.
Any group of armed men sitting outside a family's home would be scary, but the fact that it's the Waterville Police Department, there's this guy who sat there for 12 minutes, just sitting there with his lights on for no reason. This sort of stuff seems juvenile, but when it's the same group of armed men that took me to jail and turned my Sunday afternoon walk into the most horrifying thing that ever happened to me, it's not juvenile. It's terrifying. It's fear-inducing. And this guy stops right here, and then he backs up and takes off again. It's a seemingly small thing, but it's clear that it's meant to intimidate. And it does. It's panic-inducing. It's frightening. It's alarming every time. It's made it so I'm constantly looking out the window to see if it's the police there. I'm constantly checking the security cameras to make sure they're not at my house. This guy sat and yelled at my dog. Luckily, she's deaf and didn't come to him. But my fear is that he was trying to get her to come through the fence so that he could then shoot her, say that she was a stray dog. I don't know if that would have happened if I hadn't come out or if she would have been able to hear him. But I live with that kind of fear. There's this officer shining his spotlight on my house and my neighbor's house at 3:30 in the morning. I don't know why.
Then we have December 5th, 2017, where there was another confrontation, correct?
Well, yeah, that's what, exactly.
Okay.
When I had contact with him.
Great. And what your testimony is that from February 14, 2017 to December 5, 2017, there was no other contact?
No.
All right. Sure. I'm going to show you, we'll mark this as plaintiff's 2. You heard testimony from Mr. Walls, you may not recall, that there were several instances where you would flip him off or he would see you try to make contact with him. This is a photograph dated February 19, 2017. What is your assigned, or what was your assigned vehicle number?
We don't have assigned vehicle numbers.
Okay.
We drive whatever we want to drive.
All right. Do you see a photo? There are 2 photos, and then there are 3 photos beneath.
Correct.
Do you see those?
Yes.
Do you see the officer, and this is a person who was wearing glasses, on the bottom right photo with his hand up after at least looking at the photographer? Do you know what that person is doing?
I have no idea.
All right. So when Mr. Walls testified, that was an instance where you beckoned him over to try and talk to him. You would say that's not you?
I don't think that is me, no.
All right.
And I've seen this photo before.
Okay. Yeah. Now, you also testified that there were, you heard testimony where there were a number of instances where Mr. Walls or his family members were followed by you or other members of Waterville Police Department. You deny them all?
I deny them all. It's ludicrous.
All right. You beckoned him over to try and talk to him. You would say that's not you?
I don't think that is me, no.
All right.
And I've seen this photo before.
Is the officer who was involved in that continue to pursue my family?
Again, most of the interactions between your husband and Officer Linger, your husband initiated, including the one on Tuesday. I'm not going to get into an argument with you, but you're giving one side of the story here, and it's not true.
So on Tuesday,
Officer Linger changed directions to try to get away from your husband on Tuesday, and he came back at him. Linger was on foot, your husband was on a bike. Unless he's Jesse Owens, there was no way he could chase your husband down.
Okay, so help me understand one more time, because I did ask in an email for Linger's side of the story.
That's it.
So Linger's side of the story is again?
He changed directions. He encountered your husband in Farnsworth Metro Park, realized who he was, and said, I don't want to deal with him.
Okay.
Crossed the trail onto the shared use path and went in the opposite direction, and your husband came back at him on the bicycle. Yeah, he did call your husband an asshole. He did say that.
Okay.
But he tried to avoid contact.
Okay.
I said, hey, wait a second, Mr. Walls. I said, stop. I said, hold on a second. Talk to me. Well, look at me, Mr. Walls. I'm talking to you. I said, talk to me.
Talk to the clerk, okay.
I said, talk to me. I said, and he kept pedaling. At first, he slowed down like he was going to stop. And I was just going to talk to him and said, hey, why do you keep harassing me like this? Okay? So he kept riding his bicycle. Well, now, this is the day that I had just resigned my position as a peace officer in the morning. So I yelled at him as he's riding away on his bicycle. I said, Mr. Walls, so you know, I resigned my position as a peace officer this morning. I'm no longer a police officer. If you want to keep harassing me, I'm going to file a police report against you. And yes, then I did yell a couple. I'm sorry. Yes, then I did yell a couple words.
Okay.
When I rounded this corner, I was at the midway point of what was to be a 40-mile ride. But then as I came by Officer Linger, and he started shouting my name, shouting for me to come back, I was just slowly realizing who it was, and I was overcome with dread and just horror. I didn't know why he was shouting for me to come back. It was more than just being anxious or panicky. I was absolutely terror-stricken. I didn't know why he was shouting these threats at me. I knew I hadn't done anything wrong. And when I turned and made the decision to go, it was the highest level of anxiety I've probably ever been at. Knowing that I'd done nothing. I simply biked past him. And that he truly believes that when a law enforcement officer tells you to do something, you do it or you go to jail. I was assuming he was calling for backup. I was listening for the sirens and looking for the lights. I mean, here you'll see as I turn across the grass and across the oncoming traffic lanes. I guess lucky for me there was nobody coming, but it's a blind corner. And trust me, I do not normally bike this way. It's just the fear of trying to get home before I'm arrested and before they take control of the videos. That if I were arrested, I felt there was two things that could happen. One would be that my bike is just left alongside the road and the videos are gone, and Officer Linger will say whatever it is he said, and the chief will believe him wholeheartedly. And that's exactly what did happen. Before I was able to show anybody the videos, the chief was already saying that I had been chasing down Linger, that he had turned to try and get away. And I knew that's exactly how they operate, that the truth is meaningless. The truth is whatever they say it is. And unless I'm able to safely get these videotapes home, I'm likely going back to jail. And for who knows for how long. Who knows what Officer Linger will say happened there. Compared to what he could have said, I suppose the fact that he said I was chasing him and turned to chase him some more and so on the bike is pretty mild. When I heard it, I was somewhat relieved that he hadn't said I was waving a gun or that I had made threats or that I had tried to kick him or who knows. I had no idea. But as I'm biking home in an absolute panic, just in a level of hysteria, that I don't think I've ever been at before. I just wanted to get home. I just wanted to be safe. And every car coming towards me, every sound, everything felt like could be them. They could be waiting at the park for me, like they so often are. I just had no way of knowing what was going to happen from here and what kind of trouble I was going to be in for simply going out on a bike ride and crossing paths with Officer Linger.
Deal with this here.
Yeah.
All right, I understand what you're saying. What I'm saying is, we've gotten several river calls this summer.
Okay.
And when we heard about this was a week or two after the fact. It wasn't right away.
Right.
So when I go around the office, and it could have been my secretary, it could have been one of the women across the way, because we can all answer the phones
That
in there.
makes sense.
Okay.
Because it was a woman. That's
What
all
I'm
I can
saying
tell you.
is,
didn't
I
get-
wasn't able to find anybody who remembered talking with you.
First,
Okay.
and then make a decision whether to take him down to LCJ
Okay.
or just issue him a citation.
Okay.
He wasn't actively fighting.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if he was fighting us, obviously, he'd go down there.
Like that, but he was actively resisting arrest. My coworker is about the size of the, as short as the magistrate. So she was struggling. I had to drag him, basically drag him back to the police car and get him up on the car to search him, fighting me, to basically actively resisting the whole time. And I also want to mention that he did, and I didn't realize it, he did threaten to punch my coworker in the face a number of times.
we asked for this. We had 2 full body cams that were withheld until after the court case in March. You can
Not
see,
from us.
You can see that the evidence was downloaded only in March after we did, and I'm going to use the wrong term, a Freedom of Information Act. So, but what is it in Ohio? There's a different term for it.
Public records.
Public
Open records.
So you can see, what's interesting about this is that this is from the date that it was uploaded. We go through and we see, no, it wasn't downloaded and given to us until we did a public records request on this one. But this is the one that's...
And when did you do the public records in
March.
September?
Well, we did. Our lawyer requested it in court from the prosecutor. September, October, November. Finally, it was, and I can probably find the date that it was
But
downloaded on one of
that's
these.
discovery. That's not records release.
And
That's,
if they come straight to the police department, it's immediate, or as soon as you do it?
yeah, as soon as we can download it.
Right.
So does a person know to do that? Like
So
I had
we requested for court, so here's September 19th, it was downloaded, and then it was downloaded again in March.
So my take as attorney to ask people that was discovery.
Absolutely.
But
That's
if you got
discovery.
an attorney day one, they should have done, one of their calls should have
They
been
did.
to the chief. They asked the chief.
Well,
Because you're saying it happened in court.
We go to court and ask the prosecutor, you know, because this is exactly
Yeah,
right,
and we
discovery, and we say, you know, please turn over all evidence, all body cams, all calls, and all of that. And we got almost all of Lingers, and we only got a portion of, is it Nikolai or Nicolay? I don't know.
Nikolai, you
Nikolai.
got everything that we have.
Okay, except for these 2 videos, because then we came back after the case was closed, and said, please turn over, and we were very specific in our letter to you, and said, please turn over all of these. So this is the one that I find the most interesting, because it was not released to our lawyer. It wasn't released until after March. But if you look at all of these, they were viewed 5 times. They were viewed, you know, video playbacks once, downloaded this one. This one was viewed 11 times, but never turned over to us until we did a records release. And this video is the one that, to me, shows the most egregious behavior.
These are
These are
Nicholas. Both of
this
these?
also, yeah, this also shows, yes. So this also shows
She
where...
shows up, or they show up.
We
later.
turned, look, I know what you're looking at there. You're looking at the thing
Right,
that comes
you provided this one.
Right. And what I'm telling you is, no matter how that looks, I don't care what it says, at the time the prosecutor says I need this video, I download them. I don't play games with them. I download them. I keep them on a separate hard drive because there's a 180-day deletion
Right,
on
absolutely.
open records,
And that's
so that
why
we don't
and
lose
that's why
them.
we did the request.
So I
and
keep
asked
them on
for
a
all
separate hard
evidence
drive.
To be
But I download everything that I have.
Right.
And when the prosecutor says, here's a thumb drive from the defense lawyer, put it on there, I put it on there.
Okay.
I do not play games with them.
Okay.
And I don't play games with what I release.
So these were not on there. I mean, I have the copies you gave me, and once I asked for them, you absolutely gave them to us in March. They were not included in the package.
Did you just get Lingers at first? Officer Lingers?
We just got one of Nikolai's and Lingers. And so this one, like I said, was interesting because I thought that it was odd that it was played 11 times but not turned down to. And that could just be Taser's weird system. I'm not sure. So it's viewed 11 times. And in this, we have the neighbor saying that they'll put John in a body bag. We have the calls with the prosecutor where they said, no, he didn't fight, no, he didn't do this. And it sounds from the one side of the conversation that Ted says, just drop it. And then Nikolai comes back up and says, no, I found something that we can, that we can use. They charged him with things that had we had this document, we would have had a different conversation in court.
Oh, so this only came after court.
This only came after court because we
did not withhold anything.
Okay.
So she says these weren't there, and you're saying
I'm saying that everything I had was released.
And there's no
Now,
way to prove that.
on occasion, and sometimes we find this, after the fact, we'll find that when it's transferred to the disk, for some reason, it didn't transfer properly. I have had thumb drives come back from defense attorneys and say, okay, we're missing something, and we just redo it.
Right.
But we release everything, and I do not, damn it, play games with the videos.
Okay.
Period.
All right.
If it wasn't for my daughter being right there, you guys would have had to come with a body bag.
Well, he might say that there's other charges you can give him, too.
Not providing his name. Yep. Not providing his information. Failure to produce his ID.
Yeah, Ted? Hey, it's Art again. Sorry to bother you on your weekend. This guy is refusing to give us any information at all. I'm still at the PD trying to find his name and everything. We pulled the plates off his cars. None of them are in his name. I looked on Aries. The house isn't even in his name. The only thing I know is his last name is Sawyer. He may have ID in his back pocket, but he says he doesn't have anything in there, which we'll find out when we get down to the jail. But I didn't know if there was anything for refusing to provide information. They don't have to, but if they lie, they're in trouble.
First,
okay.
And then make a decision whether to take him down to LCJ or just issue him a citation.
Okay.
He wasn't actively fighting. You know, if he was fighting us, obviously, he'd go down there.
Another charge too for not being my attorney tells
You look at the videos for the time
Yeah.
before and the time after, and if you need the time that was at the Lucas County Jail while still
Well, I'll look at when he turned his camera off,
Right.
and then question him as how much longer he was there, and then I'll go from there.
Okay.
Statements to sort it out.
Thing,
The whole thing was very hard to follow.
You got your camera on?
No, I turned it off when I called Larry.
I got my camera on.
We don't know. You know.
I'm Charles Roberts, and I drive an 18-wheeler hauling ethanol fuel for a living. I've been a truck driver for 23 years. I can drive combination vehicles. I'm allowed to pull doubles. I have doubles endorsement and triples. I have tanker endorsement. I have a hazmat endorsement, in which you have to go through a TSA background check. And I also have a TWIC card, because I used to work in a port, so it's a transportation workers card. It's like an FBI background check, you know, so you can go into ports and places like that. On November 30th, I was on my way to North Manchester, Indiana, to pick up a load of ethanol that I was going to take to Detroit. You know, and I stopped there at the McDonald's to get some coffee and use the telephone. And it had been raining all morning. And when I left there, the road was wet and I had an empty truck. Oh, and also, that wasn't my normal truck. That was a spare truck. The truck I usually drive was in the shop. It had been in the shop, so I have to drive the spare truck. It had like it literally had over 1 million miles on it. It had a problem with brakes. I thought they'd fixed it before, but when you step on the brake, they lock up sometimes when it's empty. It's like it doesn't, they're air brakes. It's different than a car. You step on it, it doesn't do nothing, all of a sudden it catches, you know. But anyway, I pulled out of McDonald's and was going westbound on that road. And I come to a stoplight, and it turned yellow on me, and I was probably going like 35 miles an hour. I wasn't going very fast. And it was yellow, and I just had to make a decision, stop or go, you know. And I almost stopped. I thought, I'm probably not going to be able to stop. It seems like it's a fast light. Sometimes the lights are pretty fast for a truck. So I made a decision. I went through the light, but as soon as I go through the light, there's another stoplight, like, you know, block or two up the street. And there's 4 cars right there. There's 4 vehicles. One was pickup. There's 4 vehicles waiting at the stoplight. It was red. And I touched the brake, and when I touched the brake, since the road was wet, it was empty, the tractor, my truck went sideways, you know, and what I did was I let off the brake. I just had to make a quick decision. There was nobody in the left turn lane. I let off the brake. The truck just kind of hopped for a second, you know, a couple hops. It straightened out, and I went into the turn lane, and I didn't really touch the brake. I think I maybe just stabbed it a couple times, just let it stop on its own. I just remember saying to myself, you know, easy, easy, easy. And I stopped it. I probably could have stopped it right at the line there, but I went, you know, about 15 foot into the intersection. So anyway, I brought the truck to a stop, and I was like, oh, people were looking at me, and I backed up and waited for the light to change. And then the light turned green. There was nobody behind me. There was 2 cars in front of me in the left turn lane on the oncoming. Those 4 cars went. I let them go. Whoever was back at the other light, those cars came around. I let all the vehicles go. Everybody went. Waited till it was clear. I had my right turn signal on. I needed to make that right turn right there to get back to the freeway, US 24. And the car on the left that was ahead of me, it was a little black car. So now that guy started laying on his horn when he turned the corner, you know. So I thought, well, he thinks I cut him off or just blew into the intersection or something, you know. It's whatever. He went up that road, and, you know, it was clear, and I went up that road, and then we got like maybe 2 blocks up or something. It splits into a Y, and you have to go to the right. And as soon as I caught up to him, because he was going kind of slow, he slammed on the brakes and jumped out real fast. And I thought, oh great, this guy, he's wanting to fight me or something, you know, I don't know what's going on. And I just sat there for a minute, and he just got out real fast. I thought he was going to come over and wanted to fight me, but I'm a big guy. I mean, I'm you know, 6'4", 400 pounds. You know, I figured he chickened out, but he just looked at me and he grabbed the phone. He looked down at the bottom of my truck and started to walk towards the passenger side. Thought, well, he's a jerk, and he's going to try to get me fired or something. He's seen who I work for, you know. I'm not supposed to be stopping a hazmat vehicle, you know. You're supposed to stop in a safe haven, or, you know, you just, especially for somebody that's road raging you. I mean, to me, that guy, I thought he was road raging me. You know, it's exactly what I thought. He's road raging me. I'm not dealing with this. I'm just going to move on. So I went out to the left. He's got his car door open. He's standing there. Plus, there's a vehicle sitting on that Y on the right side there where I need to turn. Is sitting there witnessing this. Some person. So I went around the guy. I swung, you know, as wide as that truck is going. My trailer has to clear his car too, you know. So, you know, I made a judgment. I go, oh, I can get around him, you know. So I just went around him. He got behind me with flashers, like, what, you know, what's his problem? And I got on the freeway for 24, and I thought, well, you want to follow me? I'm going to Indiana. I hope you got gas, because I ain't stopping for the next 100 miles, you know. But he followed me right on my bumper all the way there, you know, or all the way to that town of Napoleon, which is like, I believe it's 25 miles. Plus whatever was in that town. So he followed me at least 25 miles. And we got there. As soon as we got past the truck stop, I seen a cop sitting over on the right side of the road. I thought, oh, cool. Maybe she's probably called on me or something, you know. So, yeah, as soon as I got past that cop, the lights went on. I thought, all right, you know, I just pulled over to the right on the shoulder of that. And then he came up to the truck and said, asked me what happened. And I told him, I said, this guy's, you know, going to road rage me back there, you know, and he's following me. And then that's when he goes, oh, it's an off-duty cop. Well, how am I supposed to know that, you know? He's not in a cop car. He doesn't have a badge. He never showed a badge. He's not wearing a uniform or nothing like that. There's nothing he did to, you know, make me think he's a cop. I just thought he was road raging me. So a cop from Waterville showed up, and then a woman showed up. She walked up to the truck and asked me what happened. I told her, and she goes, you know, that's a cop. I told her, I said, isn't he supposed to have a badge or something, or, you know, say he's a cop or whatever? I mean, he never indicated his cop that he's road raging, you know. I don't remember what she said exactly, but I go, oh man, this guy thinks I blew through the intersection or something. I go, that's not what happened. I just remember telling her that's not what happened. My brakes messed up on the truck, and she took my license and left, and I'm not going to charge it. And she came back and she gave me this ticket for reckless driving, wanton, without regard for personal safety, something like that. Yeah, she gave me this ticket and said it was a misdemeanor, you know, so she gave me the ticket and I left. I would get fired, and I would never have, even if it was just reckless driving. That's a hazmat vehicle. I would lose my job, and I would probably never get another job for quite a while. You know, these insurance companies, they won't not going to insure a driver. It's got any kind of reckless driving, doing anything unsafe. You know, they're not going to insure you, so the companies won't touch you. You know, that'd be the end of my career. That's it, you know. Because his car doesn't look like anything like any kind of government car or any kind of cop car. I mean, it's I don't remember the make of it, but I think it was a foreign car. It was like a little sports car or something. You know, he gets how he's wearing leather and a hood, you know. I didn't think he was an officer. I mean, I didn't. I mean, it didn't even cross my mind that he was a police officer. Well, the first thing is when he made the left turn in front of me, he's laying on the horn. So I mean, right there, that's just some guy road raging me. I mean, this guy's laying on the horn. You know, and then he stopped. You know, he's going slow, and he stopped. You know, and he jumped out really fast. I mean, I had no idea he was I had no idea he was a police officer, and it's crazy that he would do that, and then to follow me like that, you know. I mean,
sitting at a traffic light, it's red. I'm in the turn lane. I look up and I see his semi-tractor trailer swerve like crazy. It just went woof like this. Well, what happened? You must not have saw that the light was red ahead and the traffic stopped at the light. I don't even know how many cars, but there was a pickup truck immediately in front of him. So the first thing that thought went through my head was, oh my God, those guys would have just stopped right there. He obviously realized he didn't see him, right? So he swerves around and he finally gets stopped about a third into the intersection. So the lights go red. I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, well, he threw his arms up in the air like that. I saw him do that, you know, like, what the fuck just happened or something. So anyway, light turns green, and then from the turn lane, he turns in front of all those cars as they're getting ready to go. He just turns around the corner. Well, I had time to go because the intersection's pretty wide. So I turn. I'm like, what in the hell is he doing? He's got a tanker with, you know, yeah, thankfully. Placard going. As I went up the hill, I stopped going up Farnsworth. Our Farnsworth split. I stopped going up the hill, and I'm dialing 911, and I step out and I say, 911. I didn't think he could go anywhere because he was that close to the gas end of my car. So I'm standing beside my door, and then he's like, I'm gonna fucking run you over, and then he rolls forward, and I had to jump out of the way because he kept coming, like his bars were right here, and I jumped out of the way like that, and I had like that much between the tractor, that truck, and my car, the side of my car. I'm like, this fucker's crazy. So then I just followed him, you know, like, I'm not going to let this go, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Jesus.
So he's trying to run you over, essentially.
Yeah. Well, you know what this hell was?
Yeah, we'll take it to those in Waterville, thanks.
He mouthed the words, I'll fucking run you over, and he just keeps going. Because you know how you hesitate, he won't do it.
Do you want him?
And I realized, oh, he'll do it.
Yeah.
We can tow his truck if you want.
Oh, yeah, if he's being like that, yeah.
I don't mind going, you know.
No, I know when you're following him and you're coming this far, it's a serious situation.
Right, I'm not just going to do that.
Exactly.
I've never done that.
Exactly.
I've been there 19 years in Waterville as a cop, and I've never had that happen. I've never had somebody fucking say, I'll fucking run you over and mean it. My God. And obviously he didn't know I'm in civilian clothes and I'm stopping in my car.
Oh, yeah.
But I wasn't approaching the semi or anything. You know?
He told Artie he was going to run him over.
Well, that was the words that I read from his lips.
Yeah.
As he was looking down at me from the semi-truck. So, I'll fucking run you over.
Okay, well, he's got an Ohio CDL.
Yep.
Larry's suggestion after talking to him is to take his information, sort it out, get statements, and then we'll discuss it tomorrow about charges. So, you read his lips and said, I'm going to run you over.
Yes,
okay.
I was looking at him and I said, I'm like that.
Is he moving?
Huh?
Okay,
yeah.
move the truck
He kept coming towards me. That's what I'm saying. You know, cause you know how you play, it's like chicken, right?
Right.
Well, he put it in gear and that truck leaped forward at me and he kept coming and I had to jump out of the way of his truck. Okay?
Okay, I didn't get the beginning of the story. Where were you on? You were. Did he announce himself as a police officer?
No, because Art said he didn't know who he was.
Didn't have a badge or anything?
He just said he got on the phone and dialed 911. Well, I knew when Larry called you, that guy's like, you want me to get him out and hook him up for it? I said, well, my lieutenant's on the phone.
We don't know. You know. And he fucking turns left in front of me, and lays on the horn, and then fucking stops his car like half a block up.
Okay.
And jumps out. You know, I stopped and I just went around him, and he's been following me ever since.
Okay, well that's an off-duty police officer that was following you.
503 Lucas.
They said that you were going to hit him in your truck.
Oh, come on. You think I'm going to run over somebody's truck?
Yes, ma'am.
Well,
520 East Weber.
Sounds like you were upset, raising your hands up and everything.
This looks like some psycho guy there. He didn't really say he was a cop. He just stopped. I thought he was going to get out to fight or something.
He was going to call the police is what he was trying to do.
So why does he have to try to stop me like that? Why is he...
He's not trying to stop you. Okay, you didn't mouth to him that you were going to hit him with your truck?
I never even got out of the truck.
I know. I said inside your truck. You didn't mouth to him like, hey, I'm going to hit you or something like that. I'm going to hit you with my truck. You didn't do that. Okay. Okay, I'm giving you a citation for reckless operation. Okay. You can call the court to find out how much the citation is. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, if that guy was a cop, you know?
Yeah.
Should he, like, pull a badge out or something? Like,
No, he's just a concerned citizen.
Yeah, but I'm talking about after, like, when I went into the intersection, right? He was in the oncoming, and then he turned in front of me, and then he stopped.
Okay, well, you
can... That's why...
Okay.
That's why I'm like, should he have a badge or something, you know?
No, he didn't show you badge. He didn't... I'm sure he wasn't thinking about that. He was concerned about your safety.
I was thinking that's
and everybody's
psycho,
safety.
You know?
No. Okay, in the future, if that happens, you can't tell someone that you're going to run him over if you mouth that to him. You can't do that. You can be charged with aggravated menacing. Okay, well, I'm just letting you know.
You don't need anything from me then?
No, just when you come in.
All right.
He said you were coming the opposite direction, didn't he? He said, he turned in front of me and jumped out of the car. I said, well, that's an off-duty police officer that you mouthed you were going to hit. I didn't do that. Well, I didn't know he was a police officer.
Well, of course not. I'm not a uniform.
Right. So, all right.
No, I mean, no, there was no reason for me. I didn't think he was a cop. I mean, if I thought he was a cop, I would have stopped. I mean, just flat out, I would have stopped. You know, if he would have, showed me a badge, if he would have got out and showed me a badge or something, flashed a badge, yeah, I would have stopped. I don't know what's going on, you know. But nothing like that happened. I'm not going to stop and fight somebody. I mean, there's no reason for it. I don't know. It's some guy. I'm not going to stop and argue with him and get into some kind of altercation, especially right in the middle of the street, you know. I mean, and I got a hazmat vehicle. You're not supposed to do that. It's not a safe haven. And, you know, I'm not dealing with him. He's nuts, and I'm not, you know, I don't want to deal with that. I'm just going to go on my way. Well, I mean, that's crazy. Why would I want to... I mean, if you run somebody over there, you're trying to kill them. Why would I want to kill somebody because they're road raging me? You know, I just went around him. You know, if I wanted to hurt him, flat out, I would have got out and whipped his ass. You know, I mean, I'm twice his size. You know, I mean, I'm sure I could have took him, you know, but, you know, it wasn't mad or nothing like that. So I just, you know, like, I'm not dealing with this. You know, so this guy's road raging. You know, he's crazy. I'm going around him. You know, I mean, that's it. You know, I mean, that's insane to think that I was going to run somebody over. I'm going to run somebody over. It's just insane.
Had an incident happen just a couple months ago where I had a semi-truck driver deliberately try to run me over. Okay. And witnesses witnessed it, and it was so egregious that these witnesses came into the department and gave written statements as to what happened. I didn't like how the situation was happened because the truck driver was left to go with a ticket. So I got upset. I came into the department, had to work that afternoon at 4 o'clock. After having gone through all of that during the day, I came into work, and my coworker was reading witness statements of people that had come in to say how this man almost got run over by this semi-truck. Well, what had happened, the semi-truck driver was pulling a tanker truck. I didn't know if it had fuel in it or whatever, and I was in my civilian car, backing up a little bit. I'm in Waterville at the traffic light. I see a semi-truck barreling towards a line of traffic stop for the traffic light. The semi-truck driver yanks the vehicle to the right, no braking, yanks the vehicle to the left, enters the turn lane, slamming on the brakes, comes to a stop about halfway to the intersection after having almost killed about a half a dozen people that he would have killed if he would have hit them, okay? The truck's sitting in the intersection, so the light's still red. He decides he's going to turn right on red in front of all these other cars after having done what he just did and head up the hill. I'm in my civilian car. So I make a left-hand turn when the light turns green and turn in front of him. Plenty of time, get in front of him, I stop my car going up the hill because this guy cannot drive away after what I witnessed. So I get out of my car, I hold my cell phone up, and I said, I'm dialing 911. He's got his hands on the steering wheel, and he looks down at me, and he mouths the words, I'm going to fucking run you over. Pops the clutch and starts coming at me. He gets about 6 inches from my chest where I can't even see the glass in the cab, and I have to dive out of the way to keep from getting run over, which I'm really surprised my lower legs didn't get crushed by the semi-truck. Okay? But needless to say, these people came in and they reported it, and I came into work, which I shouldn't have done that afternoon because I was a little, my adrenaline was dumped and everything, and I was tired to begin with. But when I came into work and I realized that these people had come in and given written statements, and all this guy, that happened was this guy was allowed to drive away with a traffic ticket, I got upset. I was filling out my time card, I put my time card in the drawer, and I slammed the file cabinet drawer, and I put a dent in the front of the file cabinet.
Do you know how that case resolved with the semi?
He was given a ticket. No, I don't.
If I tell you he was given a citation for brake equipment, would that surprise you?
No, it wouldn't, because citations are pled down all the time in court.
Well, this man went from nearly taking your legs off to a citation for having faulty brakes, and that doesn't surprise you in any way?
No, it don't. It doesn't surprise me because Mr. Walls got off the call of the prosecutor, okay? So that doesn't surprise me.
We can go off the record for a minute.
Like an attempted murder to something's wrong, your truck's broke down? Yeah. Oh, it probably cost me $1,800 because I gave that first attorney $600 or something, and I gave this attorney, I think I gave him $800. And plus, so that's 6 days, 14. I know I've missed at least 2 days of work. That's $1,800 right there. Oh, not to mention the fine. So I don't know. I mean, it cost me a lot. Plus, it cost me my reputation with my boss. Yeah, it's close to $2,000 that it cost me. I didn't do anything wrong, and then I'm out $2,000. Yeah, it's almost like I got robbed or something, you know. I mean, I don't really know what to think about it, you know. I don't dwell on it. It had me worried when I got this ticket because it was a misdemeanor. I go, I'm gonna lose everything. I'll lose everything, but.
Okay, just a couple of things. We've had 2 retirements, one expected, one happened a little more quickly. Mike Shaneyfelt retired in November. He had been, had been planning it for a while. So we've already hired another officer to replace him. We'll be starting on the 16th. And then earlier this week, Officer Linger had taken some time off and decided that he just couldn't do it anymore. So he retired as of yesterday, actually. So we're 2 days.
The morning of the 5th, you went to resign your position. Why?
Objection. I think it's relevant.
I think it is.
I'm going to allow it.
Okay. I decided to retire.
And not only did you decide to retire, you decided to retire in 2 days, effective 2 days from the notice of retirement.
Sure.
Isn't part of that retirement because you were asked to take a psychological exam before you went back to work?
No.
So your chief didn't have an issue with you showing up to work the day before you went to resign and saying, I have to...
Now, wait a second. Back up a second. Rephrase or ask me your question again.
Were you not asked by your chief or told by your chief that you could not return to work until you had taken a psychological examination?
That's not true.
And let me for the record object. I don't think there's any relevance to whether a civil stalking protective order should be issued because of the events of December, but...
Your Honor, I don't
know.
Okay. It has relevance.
Okay.
The relevance is due to behavior that was exhibited by Mr. Linger on all those occasions, even the ones that he denies.
Well, it doesn't matter what Mr. Linger did before. What matters is the contact he had with this individual and whether that amounts to stalking and menacing under the Ohio Revised Code.
Okay. I'm going to allow your question about the psych exam, and I'm noting your objection to the same.
Okay. He's answered it, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, right, okay, all right.
So you're saying you were not asked?
His question was, did the chief of police...
Did you answer the question?
Yes,
okay.
I answered the question.
Did the chief of police direct you not to return to work until you had some evaluation as to your fitness for position?
Oh, okay. Now you're rephrasing it a little bit.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes. Yes, he did. And you want to hear the story? Because it's up to my attorney.
No, let him ask the question. So.
I'd love to hear the story.
Okay.
I got upset. I was filling out my time card. I put my time card in the drawer, and I slammed the file cabinet drawer, and I put a dent in the front of the file cabinet. And I got pissed. And I said, fuck this place. I'm done with law enforcement. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of dealing with people. I'm finished. I've got 23 and a half years. I've got my retirement locked in. And I had a conversation with my coworker, or my supervisor, and I told him the same thing. I said, I'm fed up. And I told him, I said, I'm taking some time off, I'm taking leave. I put in for 4 days sick time. And at that moment, I was ready to turn my badge in right at that moment, okay? Well, my supervisor has recently got promoted to sergeant. So he's young, he's a young sergeant, he's worried about everything. He doesn't obviously want to get in trouble. And when everybody came in the next day, my supervisor told the story of what had transpired the day before. My chief called me in the morning and said, Art, you know, I understand, blah, but you've got a temper. He says, before you come back to work, he said, there's somebody that I want you to talk to. And I said, Chief, and we had a good conversation. I said, well, I'm just going to have to decide what I'm going to do, okay? So then I waited a couple days, and I made a decision. I looked inward at myself. When you're a police officer, you take an oath of office to uphold the laws and the Constitution of the United States to protect and serve. And I had to do an inward look at myself and determine whether I feel that I'm fit for duty. So I made a decision on my own that I'm no longer fit for duty. Because I'm 55 years old, I've been working my entire adult life full-time and answering to people, and I've got people like Mr. Walls harassing me, along with everything else that goes on the job. And yeah, that's exactly right. He's the reason, one of the reasons that I quit my job, okay? But my chief said, no, you've served this community proudly, you've served it diligently, you've done your job, and you can retire knowing that you did your job, and you can hold your head high knowing you walked out of here after 18 and a half years, okay? So that's the story. So they let me retire, which I really appreciated.
And do you still consider yourself unfit for duty?
No, I don't, because I'm not on duty anymore.
Aren't you seeking employment as a police officer normally?
Excuse me?
Are you seeking employment as a police officer in any jurisdiction?
No, I'm retired.
All right. Well, we agree you have a temper.
No, I'm saying I'm retired, see, because I'm retired now, and when I was a police officer, I had to keep my mouth shut.
They're out to protect you, and that's what policing's about. Are there bad apples? Yeah.
Yeah, but here's the thing about that. The phrase isn't, it's just a few bad apples, don't worry about it. The phrase is, a few bad apples spoil the barrel. And we currently have a system which is set up to ignore bad apples, destroy bad apples' records, persecute good apples for speaking up, and shuffle dangerous, emotionally unstable apples around to the point that children have to attend f***ing apple classes. You cannot look at our current situation and claim that anybody likes them apples.
Former Attorney General Loretta E. Lynch said building trust between law enforcement officers and the communities they serve, enlisting the public's assistance in reducing crime, is creating the stronger and safer communities that all Americans deserve. The first pillar of 21st century policing is about building trust and legitimacy. There is an expectation when officers are entrusted to uphold the law that they do so in a fair and just procedural manner, applying laws equally, blind to personal relationships or feelings. How can we get to a place of trust when in just 1 year of reviewing common practices within, and a few cases handled by the Waterville Police Department, officers have been shown to lie under oath about citizen interactions, misdocument on official evidence handling paperwork, withhold exonerating video evidence until after a case is completed, shout down and attempt to humiliate citizens who bring their concerns to official public forums, field edit body camera footage to keep from recording evidence of misconduct, fail to activate cameras during times specified by the Waterville Police Department, escalate rather than de-escalate community conflict, harass and terrify citizens under the color of law, and all of these with no discernible consequence for any of these untrustworthy actions. The prevalence of this heinous and easy to uncover behaviors brings into the question, are those who are tasked with policing the police in Waterville complicit or ineffective? The lack of transparency, as well as a pervasive deafness to accountability, has allowed our police force to adopt a warrior mentality, us against them, rather than that of a guardian, protect, and serve. The Task Force on 21st Century Policing states that overcoming mistrust and building legitimacy within a community can be done through policy and oversight. Policies that are maintained, current, and reviewed in conjunction with the community, as well as providing a safe and fair place for concerns about policing and policies to be heard and independently reviewed. Nothing we do moving forward will remove the indecency that my husband was forced to endure for legally walking down the street and making pictures, or worse, the crippling fear that it could happen again. There's no way to return the tens of thousands of dollars that were spent to defend John or protect our family from the menace under the guise of law enforcement. Therefore, we started asking the Waterville Council for the only thing that we could think of that could give meaning to this nightmare: the formation of a civilian oversight committee. As so many other communities have in use right now to balance the power, create transparency, return trust and legitimacy to the police force, and most importantly, make sure something like this is never acceptable again. When we asked in 2017, we were told that that would make Waterville sound like a bad place. Then we found Charles Roberts' story. In early 2018, we expressed the need for a safe place to report misconduct after receiving, investigating, and corroborating an anonymous complaint of sexual harassment at the hand of an officer. Yet here we come to you again, the Waterville City Council, asking how many more people will have to share their life-altering experiences with the Waterville Police Department. Will it need to have to happen to your son, When he asks an officer, "What did I do that was illegal? What is your name?" Will it need to potentially take your career away and forever affect your ability to provide for yourself? Or will it need to be your granddaughter asked to wear Victoria's Secret panties by a uniformed police officer and made to feel helpless in her place of employment? So what will need to happen before council endorses training on 21st century policing standards, a complete change of leadership, measurable goals within the city employee structure, and finally, the formation of a formal civilian oversight committee in Waterville? We will be reaching out to the community over the coming months in case there are more stories that need to be heard. Then we'll begin submitting this documentary to film festivals this summer and release it publicly in the fall, giving us time to add one last chapter describing how the city of Waterville responded when, in the face of such overwhelming evidence collected and presented by ordinary citizens crying out for help, change, and safety within their community. I hope that we can quickly work together to pursue a happy ending.